They're foreign, they're punks, and they're not gonna let anybody stop them from rocking and rolling. This is Round Eye. Okay. Let me clap for you first. Ready?
Okay. I got you.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm here with the members of Round Eye, and can I have you guys introduce yourselves real quickly?
𝗖𝗵cie, guitar, singer.
𝗣𝘂𝗍, bass.
James, guitar.
And obviously you are not Chinese, so can you tell me where you're all from?
I'm from Chicago.
I am Italian, come from Pisa.
I'm Irish. I come from Dublin.
Okay. But you're a Shanghai-based band, and you've been playing since 2011?
2012.
2012, okay. So let's start by talking a little bit about the Shanghai music scene. Can you guys tell me a little bit about that?
Currently? Now?
Yeah.
You guys want to?
You go ahead. We have more experience.
All right. Well, what exactly you want to know about it?
Like, are there a lot of bands? Is it supportive? Is it competitive? Is it a mix of foreigners and Chinese?
Okay. Well, in terms of size,
Yeah.
compared in relation to Shanghai is over 24 million people. So compared to the city and what it should be, it's actually relatively small. It's quite small, especially in the niche music that we play. We're like a rock and roll kind of punk thing.
Yeah.
Our tendencies. With metal and electronic music, it's massive. It's a massive scene, or folk music.
Okay.
And what?
Jazz.
And jazz too.
Yeah.
But for what we do, it's quite small, and it's supportive, and it's hard to say competitive because we can't possibly be competitive with the local bands when that's actually probably better for another question, but it's a very, very difficult thing to be a foreign band in China.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot of different kinds of rules and parameters that you have to go through.
Yeah.
So, obstacles.
Anything specific, like some difficulties you guys
The
face?
𝗣𝘂,
Yeah.
the registration for every single show, no matter how small or shitty the bar is, you still have to go through the government. For instance, we were just in Hainan. It's a city in South China, or island, and we had 3 dates set up in Sanya, Wanning, and 𝗖𝗵cie, which is the capital of that province. And 𝗖𝗵cie got the 𝗣𝘂 for the city, but then the government said no to the show because we didn't have the 𝗣𝘂 for the province.
Oh no.
And it's just a lot of loopholes like that, and it changes every year.
Yeah.
Every year, the foreign band needs to get some other document or some other tax that we have to pay or something, and it always changes which provinces. And that's a very uniquely foreign band problem. It's just gotten worse since we started, so yay.
Have there culturally been any challenges, like getting along with other musicians in your scene, or?
I wouldn't say that, no.
Yeah.
It's because, we're all celebrating and doing rock music, right?
Yeah.
So so we're all on the same page when it comes to that.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of touring, from what I've noticed, like I'll see a tour poster come out, and like in America it would be like 26 cities, 50 cities, and in China it's often just like 4 cities.
Yeah. Why? I don't know. Okay, sorry.
How does that affect, I guess, how you can make a living?
Well, okay. So the big difference with tours here and tours over anywhere in the West is that you'll notice a lot of these tour posters that they're playing specifically weekends.
Yes.
It's economical. That's why they do it, to get the most people to come into the show. And I understand that.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have jobs. You know what I mean? So they have to come back, work, and then on the weekends they'll go out and do their thing. I guess the benefit of how bands play consecutive dates, Monday through Sunday in Europe and in America is probably because of the driving culture. It's probably because they have their own band, their own gear, their own, and they just go day to day to day. I'm not really sure. I don't know why it's such a weekend thing here. India does the same thing. It's only in the weekend.
I guess it's just culturally.
They don't go out on Mondays or Tuesdays.
Yeah, okay.
So, like our friends of ours, they're called Dirty Fingers. I always heckle them because they're always like, "Oh, we're going on tour," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you get to come home and take a shit in your own bathroom on Monday." You know what I mean?
Call that a tour.
You can't call that a tour. So.
Okay. I
I
guess.
don't know, did that answer your
Yeah,
question?
no,
Okay.
I think that. So do you guys have day jobs?
Yeah, I'm a music teacher.
Okay. And how
I'm an
about?
architect.
Oh,
I'm a teacher as well.
okay. And do your employers know that you have this other life?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
To their chagrin. But I mean, it actually, I got kind of lucky with mine. Like with my past school as well. We used to invite a lot of foreign bands to come over to China to tour the mainland, and some of them are pretty well known in punk circles like Descendants and MDC and stuff like that. What's cool about my school is that like they're open to these musicians coming in and meeting the kids and having small acoustic shows or answering
That's
questions
amazing.
about,
I
it's
can't
cool.
imagine being like a school child and like being
I know,
introduced
right?
to like punk royalty.
Nobody came to my school. In my
Yeah.
school, it was just like retired baseball players that would come around.
Yeah.
But like, or an astronaut or something. Nobody would rock and roll.
Yeah.
So my kids, they've met 𝗖𝗵cie of the Stooges. They met Mike Watt. They met, Twink. It's really fantastic.
That's really cool. And speaking of 𝗖𝗵cie, I read in another interview that when you first came to China, did you meet him?
I met him in Shanghai.
Okay.
It was before Round Eye was formed.
Yeah.
He was playing with an avant-garde noise group called 𝗖𝗵cie.
Okay.
And I just sent him a letter as a fan. I didn't have a band or anything. I was in a punk band for about 10 years called 𝗣𝘂𝗸𝗶𝗴 in Florida.
Okay.
And we did all that touring over there. But then when that was done, I thought I was kind of past that, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw Steve was coming, and I'm a huge Stooges fan. And so I just sent him a letter, just saying, "Hey, thank you for coming to Shanghai. Can't wait for the show." And Scott, the leader of 𝗖𝗵cie, was like, "Hey man, what's going on? You want to go get dinner?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's go get dinner." And so we had dinner. I met Steve, I met Scott, and we got to talking. We had to, it was just a nice dinner. And he goes, "Look, we need a bass player for 𝗖𝗵cie. You want to play?" And I was like, "Yes." And I had to work the next day, so I just called off of work, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing this." So
Yeah.
that was my first performance ever in China, was playing in 𝗖𝗵cie with Steve's band.
That's really cool.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I mean, I know in my experience living here, there is like experiences you might have with other expats that had you been in your home country you may not have like even nodded at each other? I mean, do you feel like you had more access to that kind of experience because you were in China, or?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
So like in China, I feel like there's sometimes a special connection between expats that maybe you wouldn't have spoken to each other had you both been in your home country.
I see.
So do you feel like being an expat in China has given you different opportunities in that way?
I think, whenever you meet someone from wherever, even if it's someone that has a completely different background from yours, well, we are both here for the same reason, so we kind of share something. We have something in common anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's already something that can start a conversation at least. And sometimes if you share more than that, so like what we have in common, like music, then it can become a true friendship later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your musical backgrounds, each of you? I mean, you've been quiet. Let's start with you.
I literally just grew up on like what I'd been hearing from the beginning. And for me, my father was a musician.
Okay.
So he played bass guitar for a band in Dublin called the Radiators from Space. So I literally was just listening to a lot of.
It's an awesome band. It's like literally, I mean, he's like talking it down. That band was, they were like friends with U2. They were like one of the first Irish punk bands in the 70s. They're on like TV and shit.
But my dad would make mixtapes, and it was just mostly like, it was like Boomtown Rats or Prince or Thin Lizzy or Dire Straits. So, and then I just started listening to more and more.
Okay. Cool. And how about you?
I played in a bunch of different bands, playing pretty much all possible genres, from metal to punk, Afrobeat. My last band before leaving Italy was a big Afrobeat band, like 12 people in a band. Played original ska, reggae. And that's what I've always liked, like trying to play and listen to something new, something different, without getting stuck on one thing.
Yeah.
And when I met these guys, I wasn't particularly into punk, and I wouldn't say Round Eyes is a punk band, which I liked because again, I'm not a huge, let's say, original traditional punk fan. So what I liked about the band is that this kind of idea of experimenting and exploring other ways. Of course, it's the mold is a punk, but I like that, and that's what we're trying to do. And I guess having such a different background in me kind of probably helps also.
You're just mad that you can't grow a mohawk.
That's very true.
And how about yourself?
I was in a punk band, one band for 10 years in Florida called 𝗖𝗵cie And so I was part of the DIY community in the underground of America. And that's where I learned how to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And what's great about that is that the first release that we had was the last release of my previous band. So it was a split LP with my last band and the first EP of this band. And what's great is that throughout all those years of touring in the States, a lot of those people are still working in the underground. So I got to connect and it just expanded the net, right? And so, but yeah, that's my background. I was in a touring band before this.
Okay. And do you feel like that DIY experience has helped you kind of navigate putting together your own tours in China?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I still do it exactly the same. I mean, now, back then there wasn't any WeChat and, social networking device or platforms.
Yeah.
But it's exactly the same.
And how would you say, so playing China versus playing other countries, are there any big differences besides, the bureaucratic paperwork over here?
Gear.
Yeah.
Hauling your own shit. A lot of the bands out here, they're like, oh, we have to tour. It's so hard to get the train. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. You have to haul your own speakers, man.
Yes.
Think about it.
Yeah.
The drums, you have to bring that. Everything.
It's definitely a commitment.
Yeah.
Loading in certain time, sound checking.
You know what I mean? Oh, dude, and even a sound check to me is kind of like luxury. You know what I mean? There's like a shithole dive over in whatever, Oregon, right? And there's no sound check there. Sound check is when the bartender shows up, right? I mean, it's just funny.
Yeah.
I think you're very pampered here in Asia.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot easier. Japan, because they all have their own backline. You're going to sound like it's a pretty good sound system, right? And I think I prefer when we tour in the West because we bring our own gear, so we know what we're going to sound like every single night. It's not like I'm using a 𝗣𝘂 tonight and then an Orange tomorrow and then a Marshall the next day. They're very different sounds, these amps, And I do appreciate that. I mean, you got to haul it in there, but whatever. At least you know what you're going to sound like.
And how's your reception with Chinese audiences?
It's good. Yeah.
It varies.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would say some crowds are there because it's white people and playing some loud music.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
And they are having a great time, but they're not there because they want to see a punk show.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're just there for the novelty of watching foreigners do
But
something.
sometimes it's the opposite. Like even last time we were in Chengdu at 𝗖𝗵cie. It was a great place, and people were just having a lot of fun. That's why they went there. That's why they came, because they wanted to see punk show or metal show. That doesn't matter, but just they wanted to see like loud live music.
Yeah.
So you get both. But for instance, of course, this is different when you travel or when you tour elsewhere. Usually, people come to the show because they know that there will be some sort of a punk show. Maybe they don't know us. Most likely they will not know that we are Round Eye from China, but they know that at that place they will go. They will, have punk shows or rock and roll shows. So it's a very different crowd. So here you get both sides of the spectrum, I would say.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. So here, moving abroad and living abroad for so long, a lot of your songs are very political. Do you find that your politics have changed since moving to China? Or
I'm now, since moving to China, I was pretty ignorant of what China was all about. I mean, all I knew was that, yes, it was communist, but I didn't really know what that meant. And then living here, and then, being under that microscope a few times with the Ministry of Culture, you start to really kind of appreciate, especially the freedom of press and stuff like that, of expression and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I took it for granted back when I lived in the States, and now it's like really at the drop of a hat that could be taken away, and for the weirdest reasons too. So, but yeah, when it comes to Chinese politics, I didn't really know what it was until I lived here. I had to come here to find out.
Okay. And how about your view of American politics? Has that changed?
No, it got worse. It got so much worse. God, it's so crazy over there right now.
Yeah.
On all levels.
Yeah.
I mean, my mother's Dominican.
Okay.
And my father is of Swedish descent, but he's first generation American. So I grew up with a bicultural family. So I was always kind of open-minded with that stuff, but I don't know. I just can't believe how much shit has happened in the past 10 years with the States. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And how about you guys with your home countries?
If my political views have changed?
Yeah, if your political views of Italy or Ireland have changed since you live abroad.
I would say it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't know pretty much anything about China. Then start living here, you slowly start to understand a bit how it works. And I would say if I wasn't in a band, I wouldn't even be exposed to that.
That's true.
Right? So
that's
to the censorship.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you have your job. If you do your job and you're regular and you're legal and everything's perfect, you don't really have any, you don't get in touch with anything political, really.
Yeah.
So the only thing that happened to me personally is really with the band, because of course we say what we want to say or we do what we want to do, and there's not a blueprint for that. So we kind of go wherever we want, and that's where someone's going to say, maybe you shouldn't do that, or you cannot say these things. So yeah, that's and again, I learned throughout over 7 years in China.
How about you?
In Ireland, I think not much really has changed too much. Like when I went back 2 years ago, it was the same place it was before. People weren't necessarily any less or any more complacent than they were, but for the most part, I guess it felt like a bit of more of a brighter atmosphere.
Okay.
For the most part, so yeah.
Cool. And do you feel like, having been reprimanded, knowing what the consequences are, do you feel yourself pulling back ever, or
No.
You have to, in a way. You have to kind of limit because otherwise you can get in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. So in a way, we know where the limits are,
and we kind of understand of what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Usually when it comes to like repercussions like that, it usually comes from it's a reaction to something, right? And it comes from the top down.
Okay.
So like the cops, just the regular cops on the street, we're not worried about them. It usually has to be reported to them. It has to be brought to their attention by somebody.
I see.
Like for instance, we had Harley's. We had a gig at this shitty little dive bar in Shanghai called Harley's. I like Harley's. It's a great bar. It's a shitty dive bar. I'm sorry. But the point of me saying it's a shitty dive bar, it's not in any ways like a proper live venue. You know what I
Right.
mean?
It's
Where
not a cultural force.
Right. And so you're just entertaining a bunch of drunks, 100 drunks at a bar. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody called the cops on them because it was being ticketed. And it was just like, we were taking tickets at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so the business right next door called the cops on us. And then the Ministry of Culture, not the police, the Ministry of Culture came and said, if the show continues, we will shut your bar down.
Wow.
And so it usually comes from vindictive motherfuckers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you never really know. And so...
So it's not even something you said. It was just...
No. It was just that we were there.
Yeah.
And taking ticket money.
Yeah.
And when it comes to stuff like that, when it comes to... we had a poster that got us in a lot of trouble. Because it was... I don't know if you saw it. It was.
I read about this, yeah.
That poster was... it had a young pioneer girl with her uniform on and just blood spurting out of it. It's not exact... I don't even know if that'd fly in PC America either. But I mean, we got in trouble for that, and I had a very long meeting with the chief of Ministry of Culture in Shanghai, and they explained to us that, like, okay, you can't do this, but they gave us a warning, but they therefore shut down every single show that happened on that tour.
What's funny is that it's not really about what we say, because honestly, if they really knew what we were saying, definitely we would get in trouble. Because the lyrics of many of our songs, especially the new album, are very political, and very explicit.
Yeah.
So it's never because of what we say, right?
Well, also because with any show, anytime we have to submit our lyrics, which is basically every show, we have to submit 3-hour video of the lyrics, everything.
Yeah.
I change the lyrics. You know what I mean? I just totally alter them, and they're not really listening. They're looking for the easy find.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think that's common practice to submit fake lyrics?
Yeah, super. I remember when we brought Millions of Dead Cops here. Millions of Dead Cops, a name like that's easily you're not coming into this country.
Yeah.
But they usually go by acronyms on all of their flyers. It's just MDC, right?
Yeah.
So on the paperwork, I have the actual paperwork too. It says millions of delicious candies, and it worked. And they got their legalization.
That's funny.
So, yeah, I don't know. And again, if we were singing in Chinese, that would change things. Like bands like 𝗖𝗵cie and these guys actually do get in a lot of trouble. They get blackballed from any social platform. But what I admire about them is that they continue to do so.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like from the outside to be a Chinese punk band is a huge risk.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a foreigner, you have a little more leeway.
For sure. Yeah. And 𝗖𝗵cie, God bless them. They stick to their guns.
Yeah.
And I admire that.
Cool. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about your music videos, because that's kind of how we first really knew who you were, and I really enjoy them. I think they're so fun. I know you work with 𝗖𝗵cie [𝗵𝗴]. Yeah. How does that collaboration work? How did that work?
How did I meet him? How did we meet him?
I don't know. I think it's just common friends. I think through the comedy clubs, maybe.
Yeah, 𝗖𝗵cie he later found a little bit of fame in China with his Mama Hoo Hoo videos.
Yeah, that's where I know him from. Yeah.
But when we met him, that really didn't take off yet. So it was like, I can't remember how we met him, but we just became fast friends, and he was a fan of the band. And so we just started working together. And so anytime he had like a new toy like a new drone for his camera, he was like, hey, you mind if I make a video and just try it out with you guys? And we just collaborated.
And so how much creatively are the videos your idea, or are they his idea, or are they?
It was we would work together.
Okay.
But when it comes, because if you notice with Mama Hoo Hoo videos, they're very wholesome and they're very nice. Whereas our videos are very gnarly.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then we've had many meetings where I would be like, all right, how about we get Jesus Christ with titties and like crucify him, like somebody's selling him a beer while he's crucified, and unless he'd be like, well, let's try it this way. So it'd be like push and pull like that.
Yeah.
So usually we have the story, kind of the storyline.
Okay.
Some ideas like crazy, and then with him, talking to him, we just kind of curb it.
That makes sense. I mean, what I like about them is that they're almost like a grotesque visual style, but
yeah,
it does.
that was probably us.
We like that style, that grotesque kind of comic, but not really in a way dark. It's all of that. It's all our references.
Yeah.
But man, Alessio was he's brilliant when it comes to his just production work.
Yes.
He's really good.
Okay. Let's see. I think that might be all. Oh, do you have any good stories from the road that you want to share?
In China?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to think about that. I mean, it's you know.
Because I mean, when you tour in China, again, it's very easy. It's very, very smooth. It's never really, and eventually you can just get either we miss a flight or we had to carry him like 2 days ago. But these are now good stories.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Oh man, what about Cambodia?
Oh my god.
But that's not a good story.
Yeah,
It sounds like it might be a good story, though.
Awful day.
So we have a lot of bad memories.
Oh.
I think, I mean, the biggest thing that happened to us when it comes to like run-ins with the police and stuff like that, is that boys tour.
Yeah.
That was just insane. Because the reason it was so insane is that, the stampede had just happened on the Bund that killed like 36 people when they trampled each other to death. You remember that?
Yeah.
So that happened, and our tour was happening a week after that. And so they were starting to scale down any sort of mass gathering because they had to react somehow.
Yeah.
And so that was also conducive to canceling the tour, along with the poster. But when things got really, really kind of nerve-wracking was that we continued the tour anyway. And we decided to not do it in proper venues because we couldn't. So we did it in practice spaces and in bomb shelters.
Okay.
And word of mouth. So we had everybody just turn off their phones before they came into the show, and then you could come in. And we had the boys, who were like the first wave punk band of the UK. And so we held these 3 shows in Beijing, and Vice came and did a small segment on the Beijing show. Kang Mao was there of subs, and it was fantastic that it was I think the thing that I really had to commend the boys on was that they kind of just went with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was so surprised at how well they took that. Because the hammer really came down on them the day they arrived.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious, like, bringing these American bands and these international bands over here, what's their reaction?
It's usually all the same, except it's all awe, and it's all like, oh wow, I didn't know it was like this, and some of them are really kind of ridiculous. I remember the Dickies were like,
yeah, for instance,
they don't have Chinese food here. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, where's the General Tso's chicken? And I was like, and so for the rest of the tour, he was like, so there's no Chinese food in China because they didn't have this orange chicken.
That's funny.
But it's for the most part, it's been fantastic. They all really, really enjoy it. And hopefully we can continue to do that after this COVID mess cleans up.
Yeah. Do you guys consider yourself, or do you have more fun touring versus being in the studio or making music videos?
I have more fun touring outside of China.
Yeah.
I always say this, like, we always perform under a glass ceiling out here. So it's very limited what we are able to achieve. Because they specifically will not sign foreign bands onto these labels like Modern Sky and maybe Mars. I've gotten specific emails saying foreigners are not,
Will they give you a reason for that?
It's probably because
we don't sing in Chinese.
Well, it's not just that, because Joyce I sing all in English.
But they're Chinese.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. If we sang solely in Chinese, we still would not be able to get on there. I think it has to deal with the fact that there are a whole lot of different laws that they would have to go through in order to sign us, and then every single show we'd have to have the 𝗖𝗵cie. Every single show we'd have to have. It's just a hassle.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So and that's how it is. And plus, all these labels here are under this 𝗖𝗵cie umbrella. It's like a major corporation here. They bought maybe Mars. They bought Ruby Eyes. They bought DOG.
Kind of recently, right?
Yeah, they own all of them.
Yeah.
And all of them they cannot accept foreigners. And then also we sing political stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's hard. So, I mean, my point with all that was one tour outside of China brings us so many more opportunities than 3 years living here and performing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we did one tour of Europe, and then we get like requests to go and play Rebellion Festival in Blackpool or Punk Rock Bowling in Las Vegas. You know, it's just the doors are open over there, and it's just easier to get by.
Yeah.
So,
would you ever relocate because of that?
I don't know, because you know, America's such a mess right now. I'm not attracted to what's going on over there on so many levels, social levels, economic levels. It's just crazy. I mean, we had Trump. That happened. You know, that happened.
Yeah.
And that happened because the people wanted it. It's just what's going on.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, in a lot of ways, I love China. I really do. You know, I've been here for so long. But would it make things easier for the band, for us artistically, to go to live somewhere else? Maybe. But the other part of my life, would I be able to have my job or anything like that? I don't know. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. All I know is right now it's not an attractive place to go to in the United States.
How about you guys? Do you think about relocating ever?
Well, at some point I might have to return to Ireland, but to live and work there, I don't really know. I don't think so. I've kind of set myself up to either, you know, travel for quite some time, or stay in China, or stay in Asia, depending.
And you?
Yeah, same for me, I would say. One day I would probably have to, well, not have to, but I would probably want to go back.
Yeah.
For me, it's now, 7.5 years in China. I don't know. I really don't know.
I think the only thing that would bring me back is family. That's about it.
Yeah, that's definitely a big reason.
Sure.
Because I mean, it really helps. I mean, now with COVID, everything, you know, you're getting cabin fever. I mean, it's really hard. But you know, we would tour every summer. We would always go back, and it'd be very lengthy tours. It'd be like 60 shows, right? And so that, you know, that would suffice. You know what I mean? It'd be okay. But now,
It's a different world.
it is.
So I have a very specific question. On the new album, Smokestack, is that 1989? Is that a Public Enemy reference?
No, that was about the Tiananmen Square tank man.
Of course it was.
Public Enemy. I love Public Enemy.
Yeah.
But that is our protest song for Hong Kong.
Yeah. Yeah, this new album is very, I mean, very pointed with.
You know, because we feel to have so the album before this was Monster Vision.
Yeah.
And that was all about U.S. politics, with a little bit of Chinese in there.
Yeah.
And it just felt kind of wrong to be a political punk band in probably the most politically weird country in the world.
Yeah.
And not reference it.
Yeah.
And not say anything about it. That just isn't. It feels very disingenuous, right? So we, you know, and we live it. We're under this thumb all the time. So it was about time to do it. You know?
Yeah.
And we knew the risk, and we still know the risk, but it's, you know, it had to be said.
I guess let's wrap it up with, like, what are your future plans for the band, for yourself, for your life?
Well, I guess we're going, once all of the restrictions let up, we're going to go back to San Pedro and record with Mike Watt, because we recorded the last one with him.
Yeah, yeah.
And just continue to release music and, you know, make new friends.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Coming after you.
All right, why don't you guys cut?